episode of the I'm Uncomfortable podcast. We're your hosts, Vanessa and
Melissa.
And today we are coming at you with a bonus reflective episode to talk about all the amazing guests that we've had and to just share a little bit of insight as to, what goes on behind the scenes, like my traditional nose blowing.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, you don't know that every time we record, Vanessa needs to do an obligatory nose blow and I need to do like a chug of water, and which reminds Vanessa to do a chug of water as well.
Yes.
And
water accountability buddies. Do you remember when that was a thing? Do you remember when we all bought like those massive jugs of water with like the times on them, and some of them had messages like "You've got this" or "Keep drinking" or whatever? Like why were we all so obsessed?
I was influenced. I definitely got one of them. I was probably like a little bit late to the trend on that, but I definitely bought one, and it was a nice gradient, like turquoise to purple one, and I found it in the garage like last week, and I was like, oh.
I don't even know what happened to mine.
Because you know what happened? I tried doing it, and I literally got sick. Like, I literally got sick of drinking that much water. I got, like, my stomach was hurting. Like, it was just too much. Like, I literally could not handle drinking a gallon of water a day.
You are not the only person. This happened to many people where they would just, like, overdo it. And actually, your body doesn't even really need that much
and they're
water.
like, hold on.
And then you're peeing every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay. If you happen to hear chewing in the background, it's because my rabbit is taking this opportunity to chew.
It's dinner time,
She's not even eating food. She's just chewing on the little pad that's underneath. I want to yell at her to stop, but whatever.
It's okay. This is not one of, it's a bonus episode. We're a little loosey-goosey on this one.
But we will share what's making us uncomfortable, because that is tradition on the podcast. So if you're listening, please reflect what's been making you uncomfortable. We do get some people sharing sometimes what's been making them uncomfortable, or if our uncomfortable moments have resonated with them.
Yes.
So as you're listening, please reflect what's been making you uncomfortable. Do you have yours ready to go? What's been happening?
I will say that I was just telling you off camera. I'm going to a friend's. I'm a +1 to my friend's gala tomorrow for a grant that she was awarded, and it's somewhere at like this big house mansion in the Palos Verdes area, and I'm like, sure, I'll come with you. It's a win-win for me. I get to see you receive an award, and I get a free wine or two and some heavy appetizers, and pretend that this is my life, So great.
You go to galas all the time.
Yes. So I'm going to this probably bougie, well-off area. I'm gonna dress up a little, gonna rush after work, so I'm gonna prep my outfit ahead of time. And I was like, looked down at my nails and I was like, wow, they look okay from afar, but I'm definitely missing a nail, and I don't have time. I didn't have time today to get them done, so I'm gonna show up to this place, drink my wine, be in the corner, hide a little bit, hide my thumb.
When you drink your wine, you drink it like this anyway. Your thumb is hiding. She's secret.
I'll wave at people.
You do this.
Hi.
Or actually, if you do this, you can't even see your thumb. This kind of a wave.
Like in Princess Diaries, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. But that's like
but this way. Anyways, it's just funny. It's a funny uncomfortable because, chaos. Yeah. My life, I don't have time to get these done again in the time that I need them to. So there you go.
It's good if you need random small talk, because,
I could tell them the story.
Right. Like, it's like always before a big event. Am I right? Like.
Am I right?
That's funny. It's always like that, isn't it?
Am I the only one? And they're like, girl, yes, I get my nails done every 2 weeks.
You're just like, oh, my manicurist couldn't make it on time. I was just so busy. I have another gala that I'm planning and hosting, and I just couldn't. For a small event like this, I thought it might not matter.
No, I was actually telling my friend, because we're definitely going to be minorities in this crowd tomorrow. And we were like, I was like, thinking to myself, should I just have like a new identity for the night? Just like pretend I'm in this industry.
You totally should. That would be
No,
so
I'm
fun.
too scared.
You're never gonna see these people again. Who
That's
cares?
true.
That's
That's
like
true.
the dream.
I could just make something up.
Yes. You know, my family and I wintered in Aspen last year.
Wintered in Aspen.
Just say something stupid like that. I don't know. So, okay, my uncomfortable moment though is that I drove. So there's a campus that I work with that is quite far away. This could be up to a 2-hour trip if there's traffic. I drive out today only to discover that the 2 school leaders I work with are not there. I did expect one not to be there. I knew that she wasn't, and then I found out the other one also wasn't. So I was like, oh.
Why did I come out here?
I mean, things still happen. There was still stuff to do, of course. There always is, but I was like, oh, okay. Well, this was a good use of my time then.
Did they not know that they were not going to be in today, or did
One
they
was
just forget to
planned.
tell you?
Well, the one I knew, the other one I didn't know. And I think maybe it was like on Slack or something, like they message each other. I don't know if I'm in that thread. I don't really use Slack. I also don't have the notifications turned on, so like that's on me. And I didn't think to ask. So I'm like, maybe I should ask now. Maybe this is a thing I do. But it's okay. It was just kind of like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I just drove an hour and a half here. Yeah. And now I have to drive an hour and a half back. And I don't feel like I got done what I wanted to get done. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. At the end of the day, you can't control everything. And it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, you just can't control everything.
Yeah.
Which is a lesson that we have learned time and time
constantly.
Again. Yes. Okay. Brief pause because she's literally tearing shit up. So
okay.
Okay. What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Well, now that we've shared all of our uncomfortable moments and the bunny has been taken care of, we're going to dive into our reflections. So Melissa and I pulled some questions and independently answered them. So I'm excited I didn't read your answers.
Me either. I saw that you had your own page and I was like, oh, shoot. She did homework.
Thought it would be more fun that way.
No, yes. I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay. So let's just dive right into it. What were the biggest lessons for you or takeaways from this season?
The first thing that came to mind was the phrase, do things scared, or do things you've always wanted to, even though you don't know everything about it. Because I feel like there have been multiple guests on this season, which, by the way, I'm going to mention our guests multiple times in this reflection because we've been blessed with such a amazing lineup of guests this season, which I'm very grateful for. But I just felt like that was a theme that was weaved into this whole season.
Like, is the universe telling us something, or like what's happening?
Yeah, and I just, it was so great to get all of our guests' different perspectives from their various industries, and and that common thread of it just being like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I figured it out along the way through hell or high water. You know, whether it was like Val from Riff Care starting the period brand because of something that she felt was missing in the industry, and Louisa with her amazing story about leaving a professional like scientist career.
Right. She was like, yeah, I was a scientist and now I design fashion. I do it all.
Yeah. And then Linda, to cap off the season of our guests, with talking about how she left a stable career.
Yes.
Almost a decade-long career to start continue the tradition of her family being in food business, but in a modern way. So I just felt like it was just so, everything just kind of tied together in that way.
I definitely, Linda came to mind probably because we interviewed her the most recently. When she said you need to bet on yourself. That really stuck with me. Yeah. And then I laughed thinking about when Val was like, if you want to do it, like if you want the soft life, then this isn't for you. And I do think about that sometimes, because sometimes I really do be wanting the soft life. And then I'm sitting in front of our audio for 6 hours, like, this is not soft at all. My back hurts. Yeah. And when I even think of, like, Kyle, for example, you know, like, he had this whole idea that he wanted to, like, be a doctor. Yeah. And he was trying to go, like, into business. And then he was, like, working a normal, right? Like, a desk job. And now he does sound healing. And I just feel like all of these people had to bet on themselves to get to where they are. And that was just truly inspiring. So,
and also, definitely inspiring. And also on top of that, I think another lesson that's tied into all of their stories is not being afraid to lean on people and ask for help. whether like Val, partnering with her best friend on Rift Care, like Louisa it's a family company, like they all are doing it together. And Kyle, I know that he was doing sound healing casually, and then it was one of his doctor colleagues that was like, this ain't for you. You need to go pursue what you need to do. And he constantly reaches out to the community to help him with his setups for his sound healing sessions and all of it. So it's just like, one, do things that scare you and things that you've always wanted to do or have been bothering you in the back of your mind. And also, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like the top two lessons, I feel like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, and I want us to say our answers at the same time for this next one. So the next question that we reflected on was if there was an episode or a moment that felt most impactful. Okay. So when I count to 3, I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1 countdown. We're going to say that answer. Okay, are you ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Louisa.
Mestiza. Yeah, Mestiza.
There's not even like a thing that makes her, for me, there's not one thing that sets apart, because all of our guests have been fabulous, but for some reason, I don't know if it was just, like, I feel like I have felt what she has felt of,
her experience
being half Filipina, of wanting to celebrate culture, of feeling like you're never fully one thing or the other, and to know, like, it's not just here. Like, she's experiencing this in a completely different country, and that was also so cool.
Across the world, yeah. I think for me, I saw it in 2 ways in terms of how it impacted me. Because, first of all, the fact that we were able to reach out to someone across the world, and I know that for me, one of the challenges that I've had this season was part of, like, coordinating, getting all these guests on, like setting the schedule, and I was very on top of making sure that we were able to get Dr. Louisa Parkinson on.
When you said she was busy, I was like,
I put it in my notes. We had reached out to her. We had reached out to her like couple months before we actually ended up recording. She was like, check in with me later in the year. And I was like, girl, I'm going to put that in my calendar and check in with you literally on this day. So not only was securing her as a guest impactful for us as the people who make this podcast, but in terms of just like the content, the conversation that we had, it was just exciting to connect with someone who is proud of her heritage, her culture. The fact that we can connect with someone, it's like a little pen pal that we have across in Australia. It's just so, and her story is just so inspiring. Way to just jump into something that
and
you
go
love.
After what you want. Yes. And I do think that you and I have struggled. Melissa and I we've said this before, I think, but like Melissa and I used to joke that we would be the ones, sitting in our little cardboard boxes under a bridge because we definitely didn't want or feel drawn to,
traditional
any traditional
fields.
I'm not even gonna say the things, any traditional fields that typically are pushed on us or that we are surrounded by, specifically as Filipino women. And so it's nice to see someone who she was in that field as
in
a
the medical
scientist.
field,
and then like took this completely different leap of faith to follow something that she felt so passionate, about.
Inspiring.
And she was just so sweet and kind and really generous with her time and everything, and just a wonderful friend to have. So I'm really glad that we met her.
Hi, Louisa, if you're listening.
All right, Melissa. What feedback or reactions from listeners surprised you the most?
When we asked for submissions for the friend breakup stories, I don't know if this counts.
Go ahead.
I just loved how willing people were to share and how many submissions we got. And also, again, I mentioned this in the episode itself, but the fact that this is a common ass thing that everyone it has experienced in all different shapes and forms. Is friendship breakups, relationship breakups in terms of friends, whether it's college friends, high school friends, you name it. Like, there's all different stages of life and transitions, and I thought that was really nice. I like when we have our episodes where we have people submit their stories because it feels like we're actually having a conversation with the people who listen to the podcast. So.
And I love getting to hear everyone's personal experiences with our
topic.
It's
like chismes. Like,
It is. I think for me, in that same line, the one that, well, I don't know if it was feedback per se, but in terms of reactions,
Okay.
I think we got a very big reaction when we talked about the alpha male thing.
Oh, yeah. Wait, how come I forgot about that?
Because you don't want to think about it.
Because it was like one of the first episodes of the season, I feel like. Yeah.
I think it sparked a lot of conversation, at least for me, both in real life and online, about the programming that men feel like they've been given. I do know that one of my friends, who was an amazing mom, a boy mom, and I mentioned her in the episode, she talks about how intentional she is with raising her son. And I do think something you, Melissa, said stuck with me. I don't know if it's from like a video or something, but it was like, it's not easier to raise boys. It's easier to neglect them. And I do think about that even in my everyday work of the way that we speak to boys versus girls. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that next season we can kind of continue exploring that dynamic, because I do know that there are men who are allies in this work and who
working on it themselves.
And I do know that there are people close to me that have been affected by or exposed to this kind of stuff, and it has sparked conversation, and it makes me reflect too, because I don't want to be like quote unquote too hard on men, and I've said this before, like I'm not a man hater by any means. It's just been really interesting for me to reflect on the kind of messaging that they're receiving and how hard it is to work against it. First of all, to recognize it, and then second of all, to do something about it.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's so much more that we can talk about that in the next season. So hopefully look out for that.
Tune in, because we are actively trying to get guests on the show to talk about it. So in the works.
I know that we joked about it. We were like, maybe we should have the men on, but who knows? Maybe we will have the men on.
Literally yesterday, I was like, maybe we do need to have the men on, because we need to hear from them.
That perspective. But
in the lighter tone, for you, what was the funniest or most unexpected blooper from the season, if you have one?
The first thing that came to mind was when coordinating things for the podcast, including the in-person recording session.
I wrote about the in-persons too.
Yeah, the in-person recording session.
Yes.
Booking a studio in LA during the hottest freaking weekend, like during the heat wave of the summer, and having to not only that was uncomfortable, but having to realize the week of, I believe it was the week of, that it was. The week of, Vanessa already booked her flight. She's coming down, and I was like, shit, I booked this at the wrong time. So I had to go back, cancel the booking, and then decide through various options. I had a mental breakdown. I was on the phone with my boyfriend. I was like, these are the options. I don't want to stress her out about it, because I just want to figure out the solution. But ended up needing to book 2 days.
Which
of a
honestly
session.
Worked out much better.
It worked out. Yeah, it worked out. Which again, lesson learned. Lesson.
Everything
it's all gonna work
the
out.
Way it needs to. Yes.
But it wasn't funny at the time. But definitely funny now.
It's funny now.
And now I will forever triple, quadruple check any booking that we make for the podcast.
Well, there are so many things about being in person, right? Like, we couldn't find the studio for the second day. So we're like, where is this hidden room that supposedly we're gonna be in tomorrow? And Melissa was telling, it's this number. And so me and producer Liz are walking down the hallway like, cannot locate this number, and this sign say two different things. Like, this
and
is
mind
not...
you, it felt like we were alone in that studio, which I think we were. It was nighttime.
It was nighttime. Yeah. And like you said, it was the hottest freaking time. And I don't know why, I insisted that this outfit needed to have this sweater. And so I'm sitting there, and I had to put the sweater only half on because I'm literally sweating. Then the quick change before we had Val come in, and we're hustling to the bathroom. Just so many little funny things.
I remember getting to the studio day 2, and I was like, where are they? Where are they? Where's producer Liz and Vanessa?
Lost.
And that studio, that second studio, I will say, the hallway lights, because I guess it was a Sunday. Yes. Apparently there were timers that were supposed to go off in the hallways to turn on the lights at a certain time. Never did.
No.
It was dark. It was a dark hall. We had to lead Val down a dark hallway.
Yeah, super profesh. Love that. hope she felt so safe.
Where I was like, I think she called or texted, and I was like, Vanessa is going to get you. Don't worry,
Yeah,
you're not
'cause
gonna
you
have to
can
walk through
walk
this.
down that dark hallway.
Yeah,
by
it was like a
herself.
sketchy, very like it's very on brand for LA studios, because they sneak them in any corner that they can. So
yeah.
it's like on a nondescript street. Like, I get it. I totally get it. Val was like,
Where
where are we?
But very LA. Very LA.
Very LA.
Now, Melissa, if we could assign each other superpowers, let's do a fun question.
Okay.
What would our podcasting superpowers be? And you have to pick mine and I have to pick yours.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll do yours.
Okay.
So I don't have a fun, clever name for this, but the first thing that came to my mind was just, you constantly think outside of the box. You're constantly challenging, who we should reach out to for potential guests, or like just creative topics or just niche topics that are relatable and come up. Yeah, you're the queen of updating that shared note that I forget to look at all the time.
Having a conversation with myself.
But I see that it's like, it gives me a
diary.
notification sometimes that it's like, Vanessa updated this note. And I'm just like, shoot, I should add things to that too. But you're constantly like thinking of what can make for a really good conversation and a really good topic to discuss. So there's no fancy term for that, but
okay.
That's
Sounds
that.
like overthinker. I'm just kidding.
You take the full spectrum. Like,
I don't have a fancy name for it either. I was stuck between two.
okay.
Because on one hand, and I told you this and you were like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know how to explain it. I was
Wait,
like,
I'm okay.
all of the social media stuff just looks so professional.
Okay.
Like, and you were like, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know how to explain. It just does. like the little intro, like the
Which
fade
we
out,
have
like
gotten compliments on the social media like this season.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing something right.
And
I think.
we've been trying. We had tried to do more like reels and everything, but you're just so much more natural at it. I don't know, but just like the branding. Maybe that's the superpower.
Okay.
So I was stuck between that and like coordination.
Okay.
Because you are the one who coordinates, you like our guests reach out, scheduling, making sure that they're set up. I don't know how you got in charge of explaining tech to people, but that's the way that
just happened. So,
I think it happened once and I was like, oh, she got it.
which honestly, I feel like this season, half the time I was like, Vanessa, did I forget anything? And you're like, yeah, actually. Maybe we should, but like we've adapted it over time. But it's just funny because it was like naturally like, oh yeah, here's how we need to do this, X, Y, and Z.
But I do think I think the two go together, especially when we do things like giveaways or discount codes. Like those two things require both the branding and the coordination, and I think that would be so. Broadination. That sounds kind of lame.
Subordination.
Like branding and coordination.
Okay, well, which guest or topic totally changed your perspective or surprised you the most this season?
Well, I was surprised by an experience that we had.
Sound healing?
Yeah. It was just such an immersive experience that I'd never done before and you had never done on that level. And we got to bring producer Liz along. And I think when I think of surprised me the most.
That's true.
I definitely have to say that that's one that surprised me. Well, and also when Kyle was sharing about who was seeking out sound healing and how popular it was getting and why people were into it. And then he made that connection to music that we listen to.
I loved that.
Mm-hmm. That we go to concerts. That was a big one. I was like, oh, you're right. I do have a visceral reaction. Like there is a specific song that will without fail make me cry.
Yeah.
And I don't play it on purpose because I will cry. But I was like, okay, but that makes sense. And that's what he's talking about when different sounds can bring about different feelings.
Yeah.
And you can find healing through that. And I was like, whoa. These connections, it just made sense.
You know what? That is a good one because I remember really enjoying how he tied in musical theory and the science behind the sound waves at different frequencies.
You
and
do
I
love the science.
love that. So that's why I wanted to ask him, for those who are the doubters, how can we make this
That's such a great
relatable?
question.
Yeah,
Yes.
relatable to someone
Because
who's
of course
very
there
much.
are.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I was a doubter per se. I wasn't like, oh, sound baths are stupid. But I wasn't fully understanding of the benefits or why someone would seek that out. And it was a foreign experience.
And he explained that, he approaches it very differently than what the original maybe intent of like the start of like the popular sound healing from like alternative. It was nice. I liked how he explained it from that perspective. That kind of bridged the gap between the doubters or the naysayers to the experience that he provides. But
it was
that's
wonderful.
a good one.
It was a very surprising, fun experience and conversation.
That. Yeah. I think for me, and maybe it's because we just interviewed her, but Linda's perspective on starting a business really stuck with me. I really appreciated her candor, like her very honest, like not blunt per se, but it was just very like straightforward. She was just like, this isn't for like, if you think that being an entrepreneur or starting a business is all stars and rainbows or whatever, however she explained it, she's like, no, I wake up every day having to decide that I need to do something for this business that I decided to invest my 100% attention to. It's like no one is there to tell me what to do. I'm supposed to be telling myself what to do. And she's just like, yeah. So again, kind of reinforcing kind of what Val said about Riff Care is like, this isn't for the soft people who want soft lives.
Right.
And how she really explained the logistical side of things, because I mentioned it in a story that I shared on our page on Instagram about how I really appreciated how sincere and genuine the conversation was in terms of the struggles and challenges and uncomfortable moments that happen when starting a business. So yeah, I love logistics. I love how she explained it to us and changed my perspective in a way of like, this is a reality check of like, okay, yes, bet on yourself, but also this is the real like about starting a business. So I really did appreciate that, coming
and
from
everyone once you've made it is always like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? Wow. But in the beginning, even Linda said, people were like, wait, are you sure? Or like,
doubters.
That's cute, and now she's doing it. And it's like, oh, wow, you're doing it. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people just don't ever have the courage to take that leap. And it's amazing that she decided to do it.
Okay, here's a good one. I'd love our listeners to know what we each obsess over. So what is one thing that you secretly obsess over when creating the episodes?
Okay, so because you mentioned social media and branding, there's templates that I've made for things, and I swear, Instagram
likes to mess with you, I think.
Instagram messes with me all the time, dude. Like, all the time. I'm like, I did not place the captions there. Why are they there?
Why are you
or
there?
like, but the one that came to mind first was, and I hate that I'm going to bring attention to this because then people will start looking, because I'm pretty sure no one looks at this, but is on our Instagram Reels, when you look at it in grid mode versus on the Reels, if you swipe to the Reels section.
Yeah.
So when you're on the grid mode, I try to like perfectly align that square so that you don't see the colored like border around it.
Oh.
Because if you look on the Reels version of the view, you could see the little like frames in our branding colors, and I do it like try to do it in order of like our branding of a certain order basically. But on the grid view, if you don't adjust it, you'll see a little bit of that border.
God,
and again,
how annoying.
It's so annoying. And it happened one time last season and I was like, but like it's one of those things where like I don't think anyone really cares about that, but for some reason I do.
And I'm glad that you do, because as I said, it's all been looking real profesh and I appreciate it. And I think that comes with growth, right? In the beginning, one of my favorite things that you did is you had ChatGPT roast our Instagram.
Yeah.
And I do think that there was an element in the very beginning of our podcast where it was like, we don't know. We're trying different things. We don't know what looks good. We had a complete different logo, different colors. And I think I just have loved watching our page evolve
Yeah.
with your skill level as well, and like your attention to detail. I just appreciate it so much.
Oh, that's nice. Dude, I've literally been flying by the seat of my pants with this. Like I get that I come from like a communications, like social media strategy background per se in terms of my work, but it's never something I've really like invested this much time into, even in the work setting. So
Well, get a bet on yourself, not soft life.
apparently.
Okay, mine is number one thing. This season has been like the audio video from hell. And it's like every single episode,
Something.
without fail, has had some type of issue. And I expect that when we have guests that this might happen. But last week's was just the two of us. And I was pissed.
That's why I was surprised. I was like, wait, what do you mean? What happened? Like,
and I
what's
don't
going
complain
on?
to you until I'm at my, like, I'll always complain to Melissa at some point. I don't complain until I'm at my wit's end. And if you see, like, the splicing that goes on, it's like the little ums or the bumps. I try to get those out, or like the sniffles, or the boba eating in the background, like all the little background noise thingies. But then there's this added layer of like making sure now that with the video, it's not a badly dubbed movie, you know, and that the audio is syncing. And then if our guest's audio isn't working, how are we doing? So it's just making sure everything is lined up and that there's no extra noises.
I mean, you know, honestly, I will say this. Pat ourselves on the back, because honestly, there are podcasts out there. I'm not naming any names, but there are podcasts out there that just let their audio be shitty and all. There's like background noises. There's like, sometimes I don't know if I would mind. Maybe it's because you're hearing it with your headphones, but like, I don't know, maybe boba eating in the background and like sets the scene for me if I'm just listening to it, you know. But you know, I appreciate the level of detail that you go into to remove my pauses and my ums and my likes and my, you know, all those little things that
every little thing. Yeah. And if you hear it, it's because I could not take it out. And that when I listen back to it, it's funny, like the next day I'm like, that's not that big of a deal, but I know it's there, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. I remember when I was editing the episodes like a long time ago, and I was the same. I was the same.
And you just know because you're the one that put it together. So same thing like with you and the border that probably no one else, including myself, even noticed. All right, let's end on a fun note.
Yeah.
If the podcast were a movie, which moments from the season would make it into your trailer?
You kind of stole my thunder because you already mentioned it.
Which
it's
one?
The late night panic sessions that you send me that I usually get when I'm like half asleep or getting myself tucked into bed. And I was like, oh no, my phone lit up. I was like, what's happening now? Because it just like it would set the scene of like the drama that goes on in making a podcast. Because
I just have to complain and then the problem will get fixed, or it'll make me think of it in a new way, and I'm like, got it.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't see them, and I go to sleep, and then I wake up, and I see Vanessa's text, and I was like, oh no.
And I was like, no, it's fixed, it's fine, everything's okay.
And I'm like, uh-oh, good morning. Like, is it a good morning? And usually you're like, yeah, it worked itself out.
Always. For me, I've been waiting to mention her until now because it truly, for me, felt like one of those movie moments. When we interviewed Jess about her second book.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was really special for me because Jess actually came over to my house to talk about it. My book was full of Post-its. So like me frantically marking up the Post-its would have made it into my trailer. And then producer Liz and my other friend Iona, they flew up for like a girls' weekend. Yeah. And so if you can imagine, so it's like me and Jess on the couch, and then you're on the computer. Yeah. Jess was kind enough to bring her light. So we have the ring light shining on us, which is amazing. And then behind that, we have Liz and Iona just like sitting, like they're watching this show being produced. Yeah. And I could see their faces, like their real-time reactions to what she was saying. And then when she illuminated for us that she's actually engaged to the person that dumped her in this book. was the impetus for the whole book, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the story is absolutely about her journey, but that moment and him, deciding to end the relationship is like the
And
spark.
she just casually was like, yeah, and we're engaged. And I was just
Right.
like,
and I lived this whole other life and was also previously engaged, and now I'm back with him and we're engaged, and I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And it's just so interesting to to think about where she was in her life when we first interviewed her for the In Your 20s book. And then afterwards she stayed and we had some wine and she brought some dip and we had cheeses and it was just so cute. And
it really just shows like a full circle moment, It was like, it wasn't even last season. It was like a handful of seasons ago that she was on the podcast.
And I think part of my trailer would also be at the end when I was like surprisingly near tears because I was like, wait, like reading the book and so many like moments resonated with me and I appreciated her vulnerability. I think her book's actually available via audiobook now. I think she finished that up recently.
If you've been following her journey on trying to get this audiobook up, it's a whole movie in itself.
Yeah.
I love her daily like chaotic Instagram story update. She's like, still not here.
Still not there.
Spent
And
like
it's
3
so
days in a
interesting that
studio.
She thought it would like not take that long. And I think she's similar to us. Like, I didn't think it would take this long. Well, how is this happening to me?
Yeah.
And such good moments this season. So I threw in a surprise question for you.
I saw.
Did you
I
see?
saw in the original unfilled list of questions. I was like, VE add. What is she adding?
I added a question. It is a season for giving thanks, and so I was wondering what you are most grateful for this season, and it cannot be the other person because I feel like that's a given.
Fine. I did write something else because I had a feeling that you would say something like that.
You just know me.
I am definitely grateful for the amazing and different kind of growth I feel like we've had this season. I mean, to be fair to us, past us, who produced every other season, 8 seasons before this, every season we definitely try to improve ourselves in whether it's the quality of the cameras we're using, the quality of the our structure, whatever it may be. We've tried to tackle it and reflect on our own time, like not on the podcast, to just see where we can improve. But I feel like this season felt pretty significant in a different way. Like we definitely reached milestones.
Yes.
Like I think our branding looks nice. Like our rebrand, I know we rebranded in season 8, but I feel like we've settled into it,
Yes.
And
yes.
I feel like we hit 1,000 followers on Instagram finally. Like something worked.
Yes.
And we had such an amazing lineup of guests this season. I know that some seasons were just us. Like a lot of our seasons we were just the two of us, and while I do enjoy that, I do also like weaving in other people's perspectives as well. So I think
I feel like we learned a lot this season.
Yeah.
It was
How
very
about you?
inspiring. I am grateful for all of that as well. But I'm also really grateful for the support that we've had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, our little production team that's growing.
Like, what the heck? And also Ashley,
Yes,
for
I
how
consider
many
her
seasons?
part of the production team.
Yeah.
And like just like her helping us to reach out to guests and make sure that we have stories lined up, and her reaching out to her community to get submissions as well.
And supporting us over on that Facebook page, guys.
Honestly, truly, many blessings.
Many blessings.
We cannot do it all. And I rely on her so much for that, and
yeah,
the
I love
ideas that she's
bouncing
been able to
ideas.
generate for us in terms of like what reels are we doing, and because that's just not where my brain is most of the time, and so I'm just so grateful for
that is such a good one.
All
Shout
the
out
team
to our
members.
production team. We love you guys. You guys
Producer
make
Liz.
make
Always.
us feel less crazy.
And when they laugh at our crazy, or I love when we have them in studio and they're literally laughing at what we're talking about. Like, it just feels good to me.
It's like we're on a sitcom. Remember, we always would joke about that too. It's like our own
Yes.
little show. Oh, that's gonna make me cry. Aw.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I only hope to continue to grow our team, and I'm excited for, all the growth that we're going to continue to make. And if you are listening and you have a guest recommendation, because I truly am also grateful for all our guests. They've each taught us something different, inspired us in a different way. So if you are listening and you have someone who you think would be an amazing fit for the show, please DM us either directly or on the podcast page. Let us know.
Yeah.
We'd be more than happy to check it out, and can't wait to talk to them.
Yeah, and I know that season 9 is over, but we are already looking forward to season 10 and what that will bring us. Season 10. Can we just 10 of these 10 of these seasons. It's just crazy to me. We've been doing this for 4 years.
Our little pando baby.
A little pando baby. Well, it's a toddler.
Really,
wait, is 4 years old a toddler?
Yeah.
Okay. We obviously don't have any children. This is our child.
Did you know?
But to cap things off, I love that we ended with, gratitude, because we definitely are we're all thankful for you all for listening to this season and all the seasons before. We'll be gone for a little bit, but we have literally 9 seasons of episodes for you to to listen back on if you miss us, if you miss our voices, or you miss our faces. Go on to our YouTube.
Some clips on YouTube in the meanwhile as well.
Yeah, so definitely follow us on all our platforms, on Instagram, TikTok. Keep an eye out for our YouTube page. All of it is good. We're gonna be posting a little bit less during this hiatus, but we're gonna continue to engage with our community until we launch for season 10 in the new year. So yeah, we love you guys. Stay uncomfortable.